Hi, I'm Patrick Anderson, and this is the Mach-E vlog. Today we are sitting here with Robert Barossa with Electrify America, and we're going to talk about charging and the Mach-E. Thank you for joining us, Robert.
Absolutely.
Love talking about charging. I love using Electrify America. We've taken some long road trips, as people that have watched the channel know. I've had some very good luck. You guys just announced something that I think is very exciting, and we have it in the background here. These are awnings coming for Electrify America charging stations.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've already started deploying some larger scale awnings, like at our site in Baker, California, and then we just opened a site in Santa Clara up at Valley Fair, Westfield Mall. Large canopy scales, but we've deployed a lot of stations all over the country, and one of the feedbacks we heard from consumers is, hey, we want some coverage, we want some shade from the elements, and so we've put up a design that we think is going to work great with our stations, and so now we're launching that deployment across the country.
And they're going to be solar powered, and it's not charging the station, but it's, from what I understand, it's going to do some of the lighting that's around the station.
Exactly right. There's not that much square footage to put a whole lot of solar, but we want to make sure we drove the right kind of message in terms of the stations we're putting out, so they'll drive all the electricity for the light.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I think your coverage is pretty good. I know it's getting better, and I know there's been a lot of talk about your expansion plans. Where are you guys going at the end of this year, the next couple of years, and how are you planning like the cross-country routes and where to put these charging stations?
Yeah, so we're already at over 700 stations that are made up of well over 2,000 individual chargers. And so right now we've announced our plans through 2025 that'll take us to 1,800 stations, which is fantastic, right? And that's over 10,000 individual charging stalls. And so when we first launched this 3 years ago, and mind you, this was only 3 years ago, right? We really wanted to cover the range confidence issue, right? And put that public network out there to go across the country, up and down the eastern seaboard, western coast, right? And across many highways across the country. And so we built that out, and then now we're starting to invest more in the metros, as well as other regional routes and destination routes. And now, we had a big hole at the top of the country up in the Dakotas in Montana. So we're covering those routes in our next round of investments. Actually, we started construction on 2 sites there. So we'll have all the major highways covered throughout the country. And now we're really investing, like we just opened up in Valley Fair, we're really investing in the metros, trying to build that density, right? So that everyone can partake in the EV lifestyle, right? You don't have to own a home, have to have a dedicated charging spot. You can have a car if you're an apartment dweller and just charge at one of our sites at your local Albertsons or grocery store, whatever it might be, right? And get your fuel for the week.
Yeah, one of the lines I've said in a couple of videos is Mach-E is a great vehicle. There's lots of charging stations, but if you live in Wyoming or the Dakotas, it may not be the choice for you, but I'm going to have to take that back now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So, people that have watched the channel know that we've had pretty good success charging. We had some issues in the beginning with the Mach-E software, not doing plug-in charge, but so far, since then we've had really good luck. Tell me a bit about how do you assess reliability? How do you handle problems with chargers? Is it proactive, or is it based just on people calling in? And how do you handle that?
Absolutely. So it really all starts with our Center of Excellence that we built out in Ruston, Virginia. And there in our lab, we have every single charger that we deploy in the field, mimicking exactly what's in the field. We put that in the lab. And then we actually own and lease a whole variety of EVs so that we can continually test, right, the chargers on all the different types of chargers, or the vehicles on all the different chargers we put in the field. So it all starts there. And then we have a network operations center and a fantastic call center that's just monitoring every single session that's happening in the field, right? And so whenever there's any sort of issue, a ticket is opened, and then that ticket is analyzed by our network operations centers to understand, is it a charger problem, is it a vehicle problem, is it a network problem, and really and if it is, it goes back into the Center of Excellence, where we work with the different vehicle manufacturers, the charger makers, as well as our own network system, to make sure we can make that transaction as seamless as possible. And so working with Ford, it's been a great relationship there, right? Because they wanted to bring the plug-in charge technology into fold. And so that took a lot of really close coordination to make that happen. We had a few, hiccups along the initial launch out, but overall, it was a pretty good launch. We've been able to work out the few nuances that are there, and like you said, right, the proper software updates were made, and now we've got a reliable, seamless experience that customers just love.
Yeah, and as we talked about earlier, my first plug and charge experience was not great, but since then, every single plug and charge session has worked perfectly. So the software update is
Yeah,
A
absolutely.
plus. Yeah.
And we take all that data in, right? And we analyze that data and we work closely. We start to, Pareto out what are the main issues we see in the field, and we take that all back internally, and our teams are working that day in day out to improve that experience.
Now, in addition to the awnings, like some of the things that we've noticed as we've been out charging is the how the sites are designed and built, where they're located, and people have asked me if, like, how do you decide how to build a site, whether it's close in, like we noticed some Walmarts, it feels like they're very close in, some they're out far, and then how do you plan for, as we talked about previously, for ADA accessibility, as well as in the future we're going to have Rivians or whatever pulling
Right.
trailers and those type. How do you plan for all of these different variables for a new site?
It takes a lot of expertise, I'll say that. And so we've got folks on the team that have, I've spent 15 years in the EV space, and we've got a lot of other folks that spent a lot of years that really understand, EVs, the cars, right, how they interface with the chargers, and can really think out the site layout in terms of how we should deploy a site. But really, when we look at any potential site, we have to balance a lot of different things. We have to balance sort of how you get in and out of the parking lot, right, for any driver, because they may want to stay at the store, at the amenity, or they just may want to get a quick fuel and get out of the way. So we have to balance that. We have to balance some of the things that the site hosts might want. They want it closer to the store. They want it a little bit farther from the store.
Okay.
So the things like that we have to balance. And then above all, you got to figure out where's the power coming from.
Yeah.
Right? So we got to work with the local utility to understand, okay, this is the amount of power we're bringing in. And mind you, when we're bringing in some of these sites, we're bringing a megawatt, 2 megawatts of power.
Yeah.
So it's significant. And so we have to work very closely with them to figure out where is that power. And so we balance all those things out to get to the optimal location. Sometimes it just doesn't work out, and we'll abandon the site if we have to, right? If we can't get the right kind of fit to work. And so, but once we have that, then we set up the site. And accessibility is a very important part of our site design. Making sure that everyone has access to a charging station is very important. And so we laid that out and adopted some of the more rigorous standards, I would say, that have been put in the state. And California tends to be the leader in terms of setting those standards. And so we've tried to implement those standards anywhere in the country we've gone. So we really want to make sure we drive that consistency throughout the country. And consistency has been a big thing for us, right, in terms of the look, the feel, the site layout. It's all managed, and looks and feels the same way. And I would say the last point that makes it very tricky is automakers have not decided to put the fuel port all in the same location.
We've been talking about that as we've walked around. It's like they're left front, right rear.
And so, for us, we have to be able to service all battery electric vehicles. And so we have to think about our station design and lay out each vehicle to understand, can it reach the right rear quarter panel, can it reach the front of the car, depending, right, on what it is. And so you have to balance all those things out. So it makes it's a very difficult job, but we think we've found a formula to be able to figure it out so that everyone can get a charge, no matter what type of vehicle or what your situation is. You're able to get to a charger, and it's a consistent experience, whether it's in, I would say Vancouver, Canada, and the Electrify Canada network, or in Florida on the Electrify America network.
I'll tell you one thing that's really consistent, that is sort of nice when you're taking a road trip and you see the green glow from the stations. It's sort of like, yay, we made it. So I really like that.
And that's a big one, right? And making sure that it's tall and recognizable, so that, because sometimes you're in a parking lot, where is this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's that green glow that draws you to it, right? And it stands out.
We were in one of the stations that we stopped at was in a Walmart parking lot, and they were doing like construction, and it's that instant second of panic of like, I don't see the station, and then it came into view, and you're like, okay, we're good to
you're
go.
relieved.
So. And I think the final thing that I want to talk about is profitability. I've had a lot of people say, with the history of Electrify America, and basically saying, when the funding runs out, what's going to happen to all of these stations that are along like I-70, I-80, out in the middle of nowhere, and how do you guys see being profitable 2, 3, 5 years down the road?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, to start off, Electrify America has always been an investment, and that's how it's always been viewed, and that's how we built the company. We built this on something that is sustainable and can continue to grow well after 2025 and 26. And so we really are we look at all the data in terms of vehicle adoption, what kind of technology is coming out, where do we see the need for electric charging, and that's where we're going to deploy. And so we've used all that knowledge to build a business model that is sustainable. And so it'll continue to grow. And we've already, above the $2 billion we've already announced, we announced the boost plan that's above and beyond that, right? And so we're continuing to invest and grow the network far beyond what we said we were going to start with back 4 years ago.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited by the awnings. I'm really excited by the growth of the network, and I look forward to lots more charging sessions because that means
That's
on the
great.
road.
Yeah, and keep up the good work and keep driving the message. We need more people to become educated about what's out there, right, and to live the electric lifestyle.
Right, I couldn't agree more. All right,
Absolutely.
thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.